new U.S. president for the next term. We'll cover all of the news regarding that. And we've got your latest sports, entertainment, and business roundups as well, as it is a weekday morning. And we've got a couple of talk shows coming your way. One of them is in regards to Indonesian pop music. And of course, the other will be with CSIS researcher from Peter Pandi will be joining us from the CSIS to discuss the impact of the U.S. elections and their new president and us here in Indonesia. Before we get into all of that, we've got Marissa and Archie joining me this morning. Hey, guys.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Thursday.
Good morning. Happy Thursday. Oh, gosh, I think my seat.
Yeah, it's one of those hydraulic seats. I see you getting lower a little bit. There you go.
I feel that sometimes it's a little bit too high. But good morning. It is always a joy for us to be part of your morning as you start your day. Indeed, we are here to update you on the goings-on around the world, and we have a lineup of top stories coming your way, including Donald Trump becoming the president of the United States for the next 4 years and how this will impact the policies globally. And as mentioned earlier, we are indeed going to discuss what this means for the region in Asia with an international relations researcher from CSIS. So please do stay with us for the next 3 hours. I'm Marissa Anita.
Yes, and I'm your host, Archie Bramaswara. As always, I'd like to greet our viewers that they can connect with us on our social media at Today News on Instagram, X, and also YouTube. Also, good morning to our viewers that are not able to tune in from Foxtel's Flash Australia, Michael Cable TV Channel 84, Vision Philippines Channel 58, Air Cable Philippines, and Singtel Singapore Channel 15, also StarHub Channel 720. All right, folks, so let's start the show with the headlines.
Donald Trump has been elected as the 47th president of the United States on Wednesday in an extraordinary political comeback.
Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto said that officials should no longer support or become involved in online gambling.
Vice President Gibran Rakabuming Raka recently discussed the importance of the downstreaming sector with Singaporean Prime Minister Lawrence Wong.
And in our second discussion of the morning, we'll be discussing the virtual repository of Indonesian popular music, and we will do so with Irama Nusantara chairperson Dian Ono. All right, we're going to begin with some updates from Indonesia first, as Mount Merapi in Agam and Tanah Datar regencies in West Sumatra again erupted on early Wednesday.
The eruption, followed by tremors, was heard very clearly by local residents living nearby.
The Merapi Observation Post from the Center for Volcanology and Geological Disaster Mitigation, or PVMBG, confirmed the eruption, saying that it lasted for 4 minutes and 35 seconds. They also recorded a maximum amplitude of 30 millimeter.
However, they were unable to observe the volcanic eruption column height due to the ash spreading up to 15,000 feet eastwards.
The agency has advised the public to stay at least 3 kilometers away from the volcano center.
Tadi pagi sekitar jam 6, memang telah terjadi letupan gunung Merapi yang sangat besar. Kira-kira kalau diprediksi lebih dari 1000 meter. Dan asapnya memunggung tinggi menghitam. Bunyinya memang kalau kami kebetulan tinggal di lingkaran gunung, sering kami mendengarkan dentuman-dentuman, bahkan getaran-getaran. Dan kami tinggal di sekitar gunung, memang sudah biasa masakan itu. Tapi yang pagi tadi memang cukup kuat.
The East Nusa Tenggara administration reports that the eruption of Mount Lewatobi Laki-Laki has damaged thousands of homes in the area.
It has claimed at least 10 lives and injured 53. Meanwhile, more than 2,300 have been evacuated to 3 shelters.
2,384 houses in 8 villages were damaged due to the eruption of Mount Lewatobi Laki-Laki on Monday. A number of public facilities, including 25 school buildings, also suffered minor to severe damage.
18 preschool buildings, 1 elementary school, 3 junior high schools, and 3 senior high school buildings have been damaged.
In light of this, the East Flores administration has currently elevated the emergency alert status to emergency response.
Korban, jadi ada 10 korban laki-laki laki-lakinya ada 4, perempuannya ada 6, kemudian luka-lukanya ada 53 orang, ya, itu ada di berbagai desa, dari desa Dulipali, Lantalu, dan Okeng Jaya yang dirawat di Puskesmas Boru dan Puskesmas Lewolaga, serta yang dirujuk ke Blut Rumah Sakit Dr. Henrikus Fernandes Larantuka ada 1 orang. Kemudian fasilitas umum yang rusak, ya, ada TK, PAUD ada 18 unit, ada SD 1 unit, SMP 3 unit, SMK, SMK itu 3 unit. Lalu rumah hunian masyarakat yang menyebar pada 8 desa itu ada sekitar 2.384 unit. Nah, kemudian fasilitas umum lainnya yang juga terdampak adalah ada asrama 3 unit, ada biara 3 unit, ada kapel 3 unit, ada gedung koperasi 2 unit, bank 2 unit, Bank BRI dan Bank NTT, kantor pos dan giro 1 unit, Koramil dan...
And now, folks, moving on to our next update from the U.S. presidential election. Donald Trump, who survived 2 assassination attempts, was elected the 47th president of the United States on Wednesday in an extraordinary comeback.
I followed professional sports for many, many years, and never have I ever seen a comeback like this before. And you may remember the former president refused to accept defeat 4 years ago when he ran, and that led to a violent insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, and this also led to a conviction with felony charges for the newly elected president.
Yes, during the election, Trump cleared the 270 electoral votes needed to clinch the presidency by winning in Wisconsin. This victory validates his bare-knuckle approach to politics. He attacked his Democratic rival Kamala Harris in deeply personal terms as he argued that the country is flooded by illegal migrants.
That's right, and he has vowed to pursue an agenda centered on dramatically reshaping the federal government and retribution against naysayers.
Donald Trump spoke at an election party in West Palm Beach in Florida, surrounded by family, friends, and top political supporters.
Trump told the audience that at his election night party early Wednesday that it was, quote, time to unite as a country.
Former First Lady Melania Trump stood near her husband and was joined by Barron, her youngest son, as well as her older children, Don Jr., Eric, Ivanka, and Tiffany.
Thank you very much. Wow. Well, I want to thank you all very much. This is great. These are our friends. We have thousands of friends in this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country that needs help, and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
Okay, a lot of questions around what kind of policies that will predictably come out of Donald Trump's presidency for the second time. Well, on sustainable investing, a Trump win would allow him to follow through on his campaign promises to roll back green regulations, curbing oil and gas drilling and coal mining, which could boost shares in those sectors. Trump also has said he would rescind all unspent funds under the Inflation Reduction Act, the Biden-Harris administration's signature climate law that includes hundreds of billions of dollars in subsidies for electric vehicles, solar, and wind energy. And Trump has also vowed to fire Gary Gensler as chair of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, and that would be a setback for U.S. sustainable funds' ability to press companies for policy changes and potentially make those funds less appealing. And what about on emerging markets? Well, even before the election, concerns over Trump's policies had weighed on emerging economies. In addition to tariffs on China, Trump has said he would slap a tariff as high as 200% on Mexican vehicle imports. And if this happened, analysts say Mexico's pesos could weaken beyond 21 to the dollar. This is a level not seen in more than 2 years. And what about on commodities? Trump will aim to maximize U.S. oil and gas drilling by expanding federal leasing and rolling back environmental regulation where possible. This is a policy agenda that would make the country remain the world's top petroleum producer, and he is likely to ramp up enforcement of oil sanctions on Iran. This is something that could trim a swathe of world crude supply. Soybeans are also in the crosshairs. U.S. merchants had been racing to ship a record large harvest ahead of the election amid fears of renewed trade tensions with China, which is the world's biggest soy importer. China, which failed to fully comply with the 2020 agreement with the Trump administration to buy more U.S. agricultural goods, has purchased fewer U.S. soybeans this marketing year and almost no corn. And soybean prices are down 25% compared to a year ago. What about currencies, right? A Trump presidency is seen strengthening the U.S. dollars, with investors expecting his policies to lead to higher inflation and growth, with a Trump administration expected to make a softer line on cryptocurrency regulation. Bitcoin is also another potential winner. So the world's largest cryptocurrency rose to an all-time high on Wednesday. And what about stocks? Trump's promise of less regulation, lower taxes for big corporations, more oil production, and tough immigration policy point to stronger growth and inflation are viewed as positive for equities. So sectors such as banks, technology, defense, and fossil fuels are likely to benefit. And Goldman Sachs estimates Trump's plan to cut the corporate tax rate to 15% from 21% would raise S&P 500 earnings by about 4%.
Okay. All of those things you mentioned, to me, all leads to one thing, which is strengthening the U.S. economy. And that was a huge sticking point with all of the voters across the U.S. I wasn't expecting it to be such a runaway victory. But the number one thing, apparently, on most of the voters' minds was the state of the economy that the U.S. is in. They believe they're in a much worse position, despite 2021, them being in the middle of a coronavirus pandemic as well. So again, very surprising at the turnout, but then not surprised considering what was the reason people were voting Trump as opposed to Harris.
Yes, indeed. And still on the U.S. election, Kamala Harris recently conceded the 2024 presidential election to Republican rival Donald Trump.
She delivered her messages in a speech at her alma mater, Howard University in Washington, D.C.
During her statement, Harris said, quote, "So let me say my heart is full today." She also stated that the outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
Harris, who was once viewed as a potential savior for the Democratic Party after Joe Biden's re-election campaign stalled, is now contending with a profound rejection by American voters in this year's presidential election.
A senior advisor to the vice president said that Harris called Trump on Wednesday afternoon to concede the election and congratulate him on his victory. Although Harris trailed Trump in every battleground state, it was not enough to secure her victory.
My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up And as long as we keep fighting.
And moving on, Chief of the Presidential Communication Office, Hassan Nasbi, stated that President Prabowo Subianto is still waiting for the official result of the U.S. presidential election, although Donald Trump claimed victory.
The newly elected Indonesian president is currently scheduled to meet with Joe Biden in the United States next week. However, this may change with recent developments following the U.S. presidential election.
He said this during the cabinet meeting at the presidential office in Central Jakarta Wednesday.
Pak Presiden tentu masih menunggu hasil Pilpres Amerika, tapi memang kunjungan ke Amerika memang dijadwalkan untuk bertemu dengan Presiden yang sekarang dulu. Tapi tentu nanti kita lihat perkembangan di sana. Bisa saja kemudian berkembang untuk, ya kan nanti setelah Bapak Presiden di sana kan mungkin sudah ada hasil sementara. Walaupun belum inaugurasi, tapi juga mungkin bisa bertemu dengan pemenang Pilpres di sana. Siapapun yang menang itu.
Alright folks, so right now we are up for our first short break, but we will return with more news from around Indonesia. So stay tuned, only on the C Morning Show.
What's happening now?
President Prabowo Subianto and Vice President Gibran Rakabuming Raka that took their oaths of office at the Parliament building earlier today.
Exclusive interviews and all the latest
We
entertainment.
don't talk only about the money, but we talk about the timing.
Spice up your afternoon with a variety of up-to-date information.
Buenos Aires, Argentina, where Liam Payne passed away on Thursday.
Don't miss it, the 3-hour news show, every day at 5 p.m.
I'm starting my journey old style on this beautiful traditional Beluga sailboat.